Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Rucker Report. Today's going to be a little bit different. Hopefully be very different going forward, because this isn't just the singular Rucker Report. This is the dual Rucker Report. We have, I'm joined today and hopefully forever by my lovely wife, Tammy. Say hi, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
There we go. So, changing up the dynamic a bit, seeing what we can do with the Rucker Report to make it more interesting, because I've had people tell me that I sound like a passive preacher. I had one gentleman on YouTube say that I was a soy boy. So, I know that when I'm talking to my wife, I don't sound like I'm just sitting back and all nice and sweet. So, hopefully she'll bring out the anger or whatever in me. Stop looking at that. This is where you look.
Do I look cross-eyed?
No, you're looking at this thing. Okay, so we're going to try this dynamic out and see where it takes us. What do we got? You pick stories. What'd you get?
Well, I thought we'd just start off kind of light with a story on Bill de Blasio talking about when they were going to open New York back up. So could be as late as August. I don't know if that's going to work, but
this is coming from a story on Rucker Report, and usually we would read that headline, but I'm gonna go to the Liberty Daily, who took the story and ran with their own version of the headline. Their version says, Democrat commie mayor DeBozo seeks $7.4 billion federal taxpayer bailout, claims New York City will not begin to open until July or August. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, considering today the president came out with his guidelines for how to reopen the country, 3 different phases, and it is very localized. I'm very happy about that, since he's putting it on the cities and states to help make the decisions based upon these guidelines for when they should reopen. Now, with that said, de Blasio pushing for July or August, I know that they're heavily hit, but that seems to be overkill. To me.
Well, I think President was talking about the earliest that a lot of the states who were not as affected by the coronavirus to begin opening on May 1st. It was. That's going to be great news for a lot of people. I mean, I know at least in the state of California, there are so many people out of work, and you can't make it in the state, and especially New York too. You can't make it without going to work. A month off is devastating.
Going to work, going to school, going to church, going to bars. Man, there's a lot of people being
I love the
affected.
Memes of Forrest running really, really fast when the bars open.
I've seen one where the guy got his $1,200 stimulus check, and he went straight to the liquor store and filled up a cart. It's pretty crazy out here. But here's the reality. At least from an American perspective, the lockdown should end immediately. And what am I talking about? I'm not suggesting that everybody should go running back to work and crowding and hugging and kissing and all this other stuff. But the lockdown, as it's currently being manifested in most of America, is a mandate. In other words, people are being told they can't do anything. We had Governor Gretchen Whitmer, up in Michigan. It's Whitmer, yeah. Do we? Yeah. You have that on your list? Oops.
I do.
I'm jumping ahead. We'll get to Whitmer later. You're lucky. No, we have a lot of areas, states, and cities, mostly run by Democrats, that are pushing these mandates, these draconian mandates. And do I think there should be a voluntary lockdown, voluntary quarantine, voluntary recommendations? Should people take responsibility for their own actions? Should people be able to decide whether or not they want to go to church? And if they do go to church, how they're able to handle staying 6 feet apart, wearing masks, washing their hands, all of that good stuff? Absolutely. It's crazy to say here in America you can't do that.
Right. And they're going to come out with the guidelines, basically the same guidelines as now, except that you can leave your house. But the 6 feet apart, restaurants that open, where there used to be 100 customers, maybe now only 50, or something to that effect. I'm just speaking verbatim, because he was talking about he really wants it to get back to normal, and then the doctor came out and said this is a new normal where we still we still remain 6 feet apart, and I think that will be the new normal for at least until almost the end of the year. I think we should, I'm not saying for businesses to necessarily have half capacity, especially for restaurants, because they just can't stay in business. The restaurant business is one of those businesses where they have very few ways to make money other than, I mean, that is
Capacity.
yeah, it's their capacity is their profit. And if you can't fill this, you can't fill the seats, you can't stay open. And it's just one of those things. And you know, American people have to get outside because it's going to have a mental toll.
It already is.
I mean, for people, my daughter, for instance, our daughter, she works and she's able to get out of the house, but it still has affected her just because of the environment. I mean, everybody's so stressed and everybody's, you know, not knowing what to do. And then, you know, are we going to actually catch it? And are we going to be able to pay our bills? And I think it's just, at some point, I think the American people are going to do it either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it scares me.
I mean, that's just who we are.
Yeah, I mean, we are. We have to go out, and you're already seeing it. You know, we mentioned Whitmer, which we'll get to you. We mentioned, or we haven't mentioned, but there's little, I guess you can say, medium-sized protests pretty much everywhere right now. And,
and it'll get
people are already starting to get upset.
And when the weather starts getting warmer, and if this is still going on, I guarantee there will be many more protests on a daily basis. And but I really don't see. I mean, I think we've all done a really good job. I think for America, I mean, we've all done a pretty good job just doing. I know here in California, they really took it seriously really fast. I mean, the governor didn't really even have to come out and say, "Oh, you need to stay home. You need to quarantine." There were towns that were actually self-quarantining before the lockdown orders.
Yeah, but now they're arresting surfers.
Well, yeah, that's
because out in the ocean. Alone, you're not social distancing properly, apparently.
Yeah, that's
it's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous, yeah, for sure.
So let's not forget that this is bad. That a sheriff in California who got wind of a church that had the gall to open went into this church. Now, he claimed and he. I think they fined the pastor $1,000 and threatened 6 months jail time.
Really?
Because he said that they was hiding them. They weren't hiding. Okay.
What is this, China?
Now, granted, they did park out back instead of in front to not try to draw attention, but they were just having a normal service, and kids were running around. There was no hiding. It's just that the pastor thought, hey, why draw attention? Let's just everybody park in the back. Well, the police showed up in tactical gear and stormed in. This is a story from Red State. I know it's not on your list, but it's one that I read earlier today that got me absolutely blood boiling. They came in tactical gear. They threatened the pastor. They gave him a citation that's worth at least $1,000 fine, up to 6 months jail time. He has to go to court over this, and from what he could tell, everything that he described, as we've seen so many times, they were properly social distancing. They weren't putting their people at risk. But again, this authoritarian nature of this lockdown has been ridiculous. Which, going back to the original story, this is where when Bill de Blasio says July or August, I'm hopeful that he's hedging his bets. I'm hopeful that he's saying July or August so that he doesn't get people's hopes up, and then come May 15th he opens up. That would be nice.
Worst case scenario. So everybody, I mean, because I think it would be worse if you told people, okay, we're shooting for the mid-May, and then you find out, okay, guys, we're not ready. We're going to have to shoot for it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but he's saying that it will begin. It may begin to. He's really selling this if that's the case. This is a good segue, by the way. A good time to mention that. How do you oppose this type of authoritarianism? How do you make your voice heard? Where do you find like-minded patriots who will also be facing the same type of authoritarianism across America by defending our freedoms and rallying? Well, you can do that this Saturday, April 18th, at the Saving America Conference put on by the American Conservative Movement. It will be on Facebook Live, free. It starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so for you East Coasters, that's noon. and it'll be going on for about 8 or 9 hours. We'll have breaks, but we have some amazing speakers. We got Michael Johns, who was the Tea Party co-founder. We have Matt Shea, a state rep up in Washington. We have this is the beauty of it. So our dog was just about to bark, and my wife's hitting my knee. Said, "Stay cool, don't mention the dog."
She sees her reflection in the window. It's still to this day she barks at it.
Keep in mind she's 8, so it's not like
okay. Anyway, the American
Conservative Movement, the Saving America Conference. Go to AmericanConservativeMovement.com and check it out. It'll be this Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Free on Facebook Live. Great speakers galore. So what's next?
Okay. Well, first, let's see. I wanted to start out kind of light, but that was to segue into something that Cuomo said about that it wasn't God who stopped the spread of the coronavirus. Now, I don't know. That really kind of hit me wrong. I mean, seeing it in context, I know that he was talking about, it wasn't God who stopped the coronavirus spread. It was everyone taking precautions and doing everything that was outlined in the guidelines to stop it. And I get what he's saying, but I think that it wasn't a good idea to say that, obviously, because people right now, one of the things that we do have, at least for those who are spiritual, and even those who weren't very spiritual for all of this happen, is prayer and believing that with God's help, we're going to get through this. And we will be able to,
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that it was...
Let's try to play the clip, see if I can find it visually.
Oh.
I lose self-discipline today, and I go home and I eat like a different number tomorrow. It is directly.
Well, I have it if you need it.
You're declaring that you have lost 5 pounds forever in the morning.
Okay.
All right.
Behavior has stopped the spread of the virus. God did not stop the spread of the virus, and what we do, how we
Oh wow, that's funny.
will dictate how that virus spreads.
But Governor, what does months mean in New York? I mean, when you say we have months,
So that's funny because so he didn't just say this once. He at least doubled down, because I've got a different one on my screen than the one that she just
I
put
think
up.
they were
That's
questioning
crazy.
him about it, because they were like, what do you mean when you say? I mean, we know what he meant. He was trying to say, but that's not, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, he's a Catholic. He's a believer. But it's just something that you don't say, especially during the times when Americans need to come together. And one of the things that keeps us together, one of the things that sort of unites us in a way, is that we pray for this country, we pray for each other, even for the world, and God will help see us through it. And I just don't know why he would say that and double down on it. Nonetheless, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is, and this is something that the modern Democratic Party can do. This was not just a random occurrence where he's just being a New Yorker, saying matter-of-factly and comparing God to fate or whatever else he was comparing God to. This was in many ways, this was a call to his people, to Democrats.
It wasn't God, it was the government who got you through this.
Right,
I keep
right.
hitting the table, sorry, but it's just whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not good at all. What else?
Well, I guess you can now, since you wanted to talk about Gretchen Whitmer, you want to go ahead and talk about that. Speaking of government control,
too
much government control. This was just, I think that was the first protest I heard about.
First major one
was in Michigan, and I noticed they were all out in the snow nonetheless, and they were not social distancing. None of them have masks. They were just sort of making a point, because one of she went into detail as far as the restrictions were concerned. It wasn't just that you couldn't go to the lake. It was specifically that you couldn't ride a sea-doo, and that you couldn't, I mean, it was... And then she comes back, and then to defend herself, she said something about, well, it's snowing anyway, and actually even made a remark about it being for the safety of people because of the weather, which makes no sense, because why make it, if the weather's going to be bad, then you don't need to, then there's no point in saying it. And that is definitely not the reason why you said it in the first place. You overreached. You were trying to be, I don't know, just a power move on your people.
Well, I can tell you exactly what it was. Oh. This was an audition for the vice president's position. She is one of the front runners. Oh, absolutely.
Think so?
Absolutely, 100%. She's one of the front runners. Her state is currently third in deaths, fourth in total cases. She wants to make a move. She's taking advantage of the coronavirus to get press. She's the governor, and she's being considered to be Joe Biden's vice president. And so, she's even come out and said, "Oh, I'm honored. I'd be great at it." And of course, you got Stacey Abrams, who said she would be great at it. Everybody's going to be great at it. They're not going to get the chance of being vice president. At least we hope, we pray. But if they do, and this is what she's pushing for. This is what she wants. She wants to get the attention. She wants to say, "Look, I'm doing something. I'm taking action. I'm being an authoritarian. I'm being a proper take charge, take control, make everybody dependent Democrat, and pick me." So that's why she's doing it.
Yeah, that's.
Plus, it's in her nature.
You can't get away with that, at least for the most part.
She is
here in America. You're not going to be able to get away with that. And can you imagine if all the governors acted like that? This country would be in a complete. I mean, I was going to say
already in
fire.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that, but that is a really bad sign. It's a good sign that people came out and actually pushed back. I don't know about not wearing masks or not social distancing.
Well,
I don't know if that's really hurting her point or not. But I mean, definitely that has to be. That's a call for
the organizers of the gridlock, Operation Gridlock, where 15,000, 20,000 cars drove to Lansing, the Capitol, surround the Capitol building, basically shut down the area. This is after being told that they weren't allowed to even go out there. The organizers, I believe it was the Michigan Conservative Coalition, had said, don't even get out of your cars. Let's practice social distancing. Let's stay safe. And
so, question, is protesting an essential activity?
Absolutely. Civil disobedience in our day and age, something that I never thought that I would agree with, because I never thought we would need it.
Right.
It's not our thing as conservatives. We don't go marching. We protest, but there's a difference between protesting lawfully and engaging in civil disobedience, where we go up against a government mandate and we essentially break the law. That's not something I would have condoned before, because again, there was no need for it. Today there is a need. Today, I am a big fan, a big proponent of people. You look at the gentleman in Philadelphia. Did you see the video of the guy getting dragged off the bus?
Yeah, of course.
All he had was, he didn't wear a mask. And this wasn't like a law that was sent down. This was just
Well, the people on the bus were complaining.
I understand. And
I'm not justifying what they did. I'm just saying that was the initial, it made it seem initially like they targeted this guy and just dragged him off. Now, that wasn't the case. The people on the bus didn't want him on there because he wasn't wearing a mask, which, okay, fine. But to drag him out of the bus in that way is very, that's reminiscent of something you see in
someplace else.
Countries where, other things are banned.
Everything's banned.
And speaking of really bad places to be, is a place in, what's it called? I can't pronounce it. It's in China, where they're banning Africans of going in because they suspect them of being infected with the coronavirus, which is awful. So you have this big thing on social media right now talking about how McDonald's, which that's just because they responded to it by,
it wasn't
shutting
McDonald's.
down.
McDonald's did not do it.
McDonald's didn't do it. They actually shut down. They responded and apologized, but but it did at least give attention to what's happening there, which is ridiculous. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I know that initially there were a lot of people talking about how, oh, if you're Chinese, you know, a lot of people were saying a lot of people were being racist towards Chinese people because they thought that they would have the virus. And I kind of understand the mentality of when you panic. When this first hit, people just didn't know what was happening, and I understand the mentality, but not the action. You know, of it crossing your mind, but then the action of actually, you know, of doing that towards somebody just because of their race.
Well, there's the city.
Guangzhou.
Is that it? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's probably way off. Guangzhou.
Guangzhou.
Oh, there you go.
Say it fast, and it sounds.
Guangzhou.
It's probably wrong.
I'm
but
doing
at
it in
least
an
sounds
accent.
like
I don't even know what I'm saying.
You mean in
anyway.
Guangzhou City? Guangzhou. Just
Okay,
say it
that's
fast.
yeah, that's anyway.
Guangzhou.
Yeah.
Guangzhou.
So, speaking of the Communist Party, I don't know if you want to touch on this subject or not. I brought it up in the notes about the origin of the virus being in Wuhan and Wuhan, and how I think Glenn Beck, he was actually the one who first talked about it last week.
Well, the very first person to talk about it was,
at
least in the public eye, a lot of conspiracy theorists were talking about it. I think we even talked about it. But the first major person to talk about the idea that this was not the Wuhan coronavirus did not come from a wet market in the city. That it actually
from a bat. Yeah,
it did come from a bat.
But
we know
not
that.
there.
Yeah, there were no bats in the wet market. They weren't sold there. They're not sold there. They've never been sold there. And yet, you know, this horseshoe bat is the origin. It is 550 miles away.
Right, and it does. They were showing video of the scientists collecting samples from the bats, like well before this actually came out, and where they were studying the virus, specifically the virus.
Right.
So, I mean, and then of course the lab being just 300 yards away. It's ridiculous.
3 football fields away is where
and it's not about the blame
is.
And it's not about the blame. I think everybody wants to focus on the blame of China. No, it's the cover up.
China.
It's the cover up, and the fact that something like this affected the world in such a way and caused thousands and thousands of deaths because it was covered up. And we need to get down to the facts and where it came from, what happened. Well, you know, first and foremost, to not happen again, and to see where, you know, what we can do as.
Well, there's two things, two ways to look at it. First and foremost, you have Tom Cotton is the one who was pushing. He was asking these questions back in February and March. You know, he was really pushing for it. Senator Ted Cruz has been as well of late. Glenn Beck, you know, the news really hit yesterday when Fox News, Brett Baer put out a report that said their sources had indicated that the coronavirus originated at the Wuhan, whatever, the Viral Research Laboratory or whatever it's called, which is, again, 300 yards away. Last week, Glenn Beck had put out a very compelling hour-long presentation about how, yes, he also felt, and his sources were saying it.
A clip from that?
You got it? Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah, he had some really interesting information. Just the fact that, I mean, you need to check everything, by the way. Anytime you see anything, it doesn't matter who it's from. Always double check, try to find. But if you go on YouTube, you will find so many things, so many videos just inundated. I mean, just lists and lists where it's China's not to blame and it's America to blame and Trump is this and that, and then you'll see the sources. The Chinese, whoever's doing it is trying to bury the facts. But it was this video that Glenn Beck put out had a lot of interesting facts in there, which I think a lot of people, especially people that were labeled conspiracy theorists, initially thought that this originated. It's ridiculous to think that the actual lab that was working on the virus was 300 yards away from the market where they said it spread, and they said it spread from a person who bought a bat in the market or from a bat in the market, and not the lab that was actually testing it 300 yards away. It was actually so stupid. I mean, how
it's about
like
it's just spin. this is the tail wagging the dog. Great movie there. Wag the Dog, Dustin Hoffman. But we've seen that already. You saw it with Benghazi. What was the initial report and the story they stuck with for weeks was that the Benghazi attack on 9/11 was based on a YouTube video from some guy, video that nobody had ever seen.
But this is one of the biggest cover-ups.
Oh, the biggest. It's the most
history
expensive
in the recent history, and we're talking about
total history.
There's actually I can't remember what country was actually stating that or saying that they believe that China should pay them, compensate them for the losses because China was directly responsible for covering up the facts initially, which led to the situation we're in now.
Yep.
And so I don't think it'll be the first one to do that. I think that a lot of people will get on. I don't think it'll be the only one only country to do that. I think a lot of people will get on board.
China should.
I don't think Trump is going to actually say that. I think maybe he will say an off the cuff remark about how China needs to compensate.
Trying to guess what Trump's going to say about China.
I know. It's really, really hard. But
they have to be blamed. They have to be punished. The World Health Organization needs to be punished. Not the doctors, not the researchers, not, keep in mind that
not just punished, they need to be investigated.
Well, they need to be fired.
Not just because of this, but for a whole other, for years of whatever. Oh, that just makes me mad. But anyway. Okay, so
next rant.
Well, actually, this one I don't want this to be taken too seriously as far as what we say. But when it comes to the environment, I do want to say that I have noticed. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed around the world that since all of this has started and since so many people have been staying indoors, the air is clear.
Let me do the mandatory disclaimer that we are not proponents of the Green New Deal, nor anything affiliated with climate change hysteria.
Well, it didn't stop the storms because
we're not lefties.
Horrible storms hit this week in Georgia, and then on Easter Sunday, they hit Arkansas. And there's this really, I keep getting the thing. I'm sorry. There was a really bad storm on Easter Sunday in Arkansas. I think it killed, 8 people so far. I think that's probably the total. But some horrible storms hit in the last few days, and there's more to come. So if any of you who are listening to this are in Georgia and the Deep South, more is coming your way, so be careful. That on top of the virus, or people having to stay indoors, and not only that, not a lot of people have a whole bunch of food, and then if the electricity goes out, there was over 1 million people without power in Georgia. And it was just an awful 22 tornadoes hit just since the beginning of this week. Well, starting from Sunday night until Wednesday.
And all of that is preceded by the air feels cleaner.
Well, yeah, and that is to say that it didn't stop the storms. Now, I don't want to talk about the global warming thing. But
it is. I did notice we were out driving around and saw the sun.
You could see the mountains, and you could see everything.
It was clear. Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
And so, okay, great.
LA.
We can establish that the world would be
LA is
cleaner.
Is actually got blue skies. Believe it or not.
It's cyan. Yeah.
Yeah. But, a lot of people don't have a lot of food, so the Red Cross is working overtime, trying to feed these people, trying to give them a lot of people homes. There were so many structures that were damaged, and so, a lot of people are struggling trying to get enough food and to keep it back, because you don't want to go to the store every day. You can't go every day. You have to get as much as you can and then go out as least as you can. It's just, unless you're Nancy Pelosi, of course, who seems to like to show everyone how much chocolate she has.
Chocolate and ice cream.
Which, it's funny because the left mind doesn't really think of it like this. They don't see it as it rubbing in the face of people who are in a really bad situation. She opens her freezer, and it's just, I think it's a whole freezer dedicated just to ice cream and chocolate.
$12 a pint.
$12 a pint. Well, fine. That's what, everybody's
free. In a $24,000 refrigerator.
Well, hey, I'm not judging somebody for a $24,000 refrigerator.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. I wouldn't. But I would buy a $24,000 stove, maybe. But anyway, I don't think that, I mean, that's not the point. I'm not judging for the quality of refrigerator that she has. The left mind doesn't realize that, I mean, this is the very people who claim to have, to speak for the lower class and all this other stuff, they go home to their filled refrigerators, to their $24,000 refrigerators, and they don't even see the hypocrisy and what they're doing. I mean, there's so many people right now that, $12 chocolate ice cream is a major luxury. Not only would you do that at any day, or on a normal day of the week, but
$12 a pint
so
ice cream is luxury without the coronavirus.
Oh my gosh, the people who can't feed their families because they don't even know where. I mean, the stimulus, I'm going to say that it's helpful for a lot of people, but especially those who are disabled or not able to go to the grocery store very often as it is, and prices for food in a lot of places has almost doubled. And so I think that that's good, but it's for families like us, or for most people, $1,200, even $2,400 isn't going to do much for a long period of time, because some of these jobs aren't coming back. And that's what we really have. This is going to be the aftermath, because there's a lot of jobs right now on furlough, but a lot of jobs are gone permanently.
Businesses are shut down. The small business loans permanently, and I think that's why exhausted.
Yeah, Trump is he's biting at the bit, trying to get this economy open. And I know the doctors and everybody's saying, but this is going to have a huge, huge impact on the economy.
I would say the coronavirus itself is the lowest of the three concerns. The second,
really?
I think the coronavirus itself is. Yeah, okay, so it kills, 3%, 4%?
Oh, I mean, the virus itself. Yeah.
The virus itself is a killer. We can defend against it, and that's a person's individual responsibility as well as responsibility for their family to make sure they stay safe. So I consider that to be the lowest of the three. Is it a big deal? Absolutely. But the bigger deal is the economy. Mm-hmm. The economy, it's one thing to say, well, there's a good chance that people will die because of the coronavirus. Well, there's a certainty that people will die and or go homeless and or get sick or fall behind or become dependent on government as a result of the coronavirus. And the biggest thing is what's happening to our rights. This is a dress rehearsal for the authoritarianism that the left wants to impose on all of America at all times. People say, oh, the coronavirus, these laws are temporary. No. They're not. Sure, some of them are going to go away, but let's face it, we still have the USA Freedom Act, which is the basically the Patriot Act rebranded. We're still in Afghanistan. This happened after 9/11, and those quote-unquote temporary things are still going today. That was much less than what's happening today with the coronavirus. So if anyone who thinks that these laws are going to go away, that you mentioned earlier, I forgot to jump in and say when you had said it, but you said that people are going to be acting this way throughout the rest of the year. That's not the goal. That's not the goal of the left. Their goal is for people to start to be wearing masks and social distancing and staying out of public places and not enjoying life and being dependent and not going to work. They want this to go on forever. They want this to be permanent.
And I don't think that a lot of
this
people...
This is socialism.
Like me, even initially. I mean, our biggest worry at the time was okay, so this is a weird thing, we're trying to all adjust, and we're doing exactly what we're being told. And you don't really realize that, we're not being alarmists. I mean, initially I was like, no, I don't think that could happen.
It's the flu.
And then, not that. I mean, I just didn't believe that okay, don't make fun of me. But I just didn't believe that the government would take it to that point, that it would be allowed to. See, and it would take this crisis, and this is the perfect opportunity for it to do that. So while you may think that it's an alarmist view, I started to see that it got worse. And then you see, I mean, the what's her face in Michigan? Whitmer, yeah. That is just, I mean, that's going to be... That's exactly what they're shooting for.
That is the new normal that they want.
They want to have that control. And when you have this situation set up to where they can actually make it to where they can have more control, and they can say, well, you can't buy guns during this time and during that time. We, it's a state of emergency, so no. I mean, what does that have to do with anything?
No gardening.
No gardening. No, I mean, give me a break. I mean,
how dare you grow non-government approved food for your own consumption?
Right. Oh gosh. Oh, that one really got me. That really got me. People not able to grow food. Can't buy seeds. You can't buy seeds. That is so ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about the little packets, because I was asking him, I'm like, are you talking about like the large bags of seeds that farmers use?
Personal
the little bitty
seed
bags
packets
of seeds that you buy at like Whole Foods or a farmer's market or wherever, so you can go in your garden or in a little pot.
It's
and
the middle of
plant
April. You should be planting your tomatoes now.
You should be planting some of these things. That is way beyond. And before you think that it can't happen,
it did.
It did, and it will continue, and it will get worse. And that is the way government is. Think of a government as an entity, and the only thing it wants to do is grow. It wants to get bigger, and it wants to survive.
Kind of like a virus.
Yeah, and it wants to do this, and that's the only thing it knows to do. And the only thing that can control it is the people. And that's how the Constitution, that's why it was the way it was, is so that we control government, not government control us. And we have to be very careful. So if you think it's, sort of an alarmist view, it's not going to happen here, think again. It's happening. And we have to pay attention. We have to be careful. Guys, this is serious stuff. And speaking of, on Saturday, we're going to be discussing all of this.
At the Saving America Conference.
Yes, starting at 9 a.m. until Pacific time, and 9 to 9 p.m. And it's... with
3 breaks. Great speakers.
3 breaks. Yeah.
Well, you need 3 breaks. It's 9 hours. We got... I mentioned Michael Johns.
Break every hour. Coffee.
Break in between every session.
Yes.
No, we've actually limited the sessions. Most of them are 30 minutes long. Not that we could, we can talk for 2 or 3 hours each. People like Pastor Greg Locke, people like Mindy Robinson, Buzz Patterson. This guy, if you've never heard Buzz Patterson running for Congress, this guy carried the nuclear football for the Clintons. So he was responsible for making sure that Bill didn't blow up the world. Or that he could if he really wanted to. That was his.
Well, there's going to be really great people to put this into perspective and to open your eyes a little bit to what's happening and what could happen and what will happen if we're not careful, if we're not fighting it. And then I'm not one for doing that. I'm not, like, one of the worst things I could say is just do what you're told. I found that out, but that's, I err on the medical side of it. I don't like to, I'm okay with keeping the distance. I'm okay with the mask. I had masks on hand.
I'm okay with all of that. Just don't mandate it.
Don't mandate it.
Personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. Just like the people in California, where this state, we just have liberals everywhere trying to, it's their dream to control. But people here did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did it quickly. That's why you didn't see such an outbreak in California. Everybody was like, okay, we know there are a lot of people here. 1 + 1 = 2. Go in your house. Don't go out unless you have to, but...
Versus Bill de Blasio, which is like, hey, business as usual.
What I'm saying, if people in California are doing that on their own volition, so can the rest of America, and so has the rest of America. We don't need the government down our throats telling us you can have a reminder, you can have a guideline. Mm-hmm. You can have your governors come out and say, remember this, here are the numbers, you're doing great, let's keep it up. But you don't need the government forcing you, because Americans do not...
Well, they call it quarantine. This isn't quarantine. Quarantine is what happens when somebody's infected and you need to prevent them from infecting others. This is a lockdown. This is a police state. This is martial law. Okay? They don't want to say that, but that's what it is.
Oh, in Israel, they're facing one of the worst situations. People can't even leave to go to the grocery store. Okay? A lot of people have been arrested for just stepping outside. And, we do not want that here. That makes me so sad, because there's there's a lot of people that have spoken out about the situation there, and it's a lot smaller, and that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, they're trying, but here, we won't let it happen. You can't let it happen. And again, on Saturday is going to be a great day to listen and to learn
and to ask questions
and to ask
engage
questions.
With the Patriots.
Yes, you're to be open, and it's going to be on Facebook Live and for free.
For free.
And you can ask your questions. I think some are going to be taking live questions, if I'm not mistaken.
I think everybody's going to be taking live questions if they have time.
Yeah, if they have time, and I'm sure that everybody there's somebody for everybody in this conference. Either it's your pastor or whether it's, like you said, Wes Patterson. All of these people, great insights. So I hope to see you there. And I think I'm done with my Cliff Notes.
Your list is gone?
My list is gone. It's all done.
Okay, well, I got that crazy story. Can we end with a crazy story?
Please.
Okay, so this is one...
Oh, my gosh. That's a great story.
It is. It's a terrible story, but it's a great one. So on Good Friday, Microsoft released a video. I think a lot of people saw it because, at least before it was taken down, it had several million views on YouTube. It has... currently still over 2 million views on Twitter. I haven't checked how many views on Facebook, but a ton of it. They had Marina Abramovich, and I don't care if I'm saying her name right. She is the occultist, the artist, who is infamous for spirit cooking. She was found in the WikiLeaks Podesta emails where she invited John Podesta.
Guys, she's everywhere. All over Hollywood. I mean, she is the person that a lot of people go to, and it's not like this underground thing. I mean, it is an underground thing, but actually
it's not underground anymore.
It's not underground anymore, but I mean, everybody. We're talking about elites way up on the ladder to politicians,
literally like
lots of celebrities. I mean, tons of celebrities. I mean, most of her clients, if I'm not mistaken, are celebrities, but I mean, she's something else. And it's beyond occultism. It's satanic, to say the least. And this is troubling.
Yeah, the imagery, I don't recommend looking it up. It is pretty bad. But, I mean, there's pictures of her, she bakes cakes with...
cannibalism. She bakes cakes and things that look like humans.
Holds a goat head that looks like a Baphomet.
That was a real goat head, actually.
That was a real goat head, and it was... definitely not art.
Yeah, she has these celebrity parties, and name a celebrity, and I'm sure they were there because I saw a whole bunch of them. I don't want to go ahead and list
so is
them
this
off,
all?
But
do you
everybody,
find this,
a lot of people, just eating, pretending to eat.
So where do people get this stuff? I mean, can they find this on? Do they have to dig into the dark web, or do they have to go to some brothel in Denmark? Do they have brothels?
I don't know.
No, they actually Microsoft, Bill Gates and company made a 2-minute commercial promoting her artwork for their VR, their virtual reality HoloLens. And it was.
You've got to show a clip. We've got to leave.
It's terrible.
Is it really bad?
It's really, really bad. I mean, it's like visually, like
and now
I didn't
we're going to
want
have everybody so suspenseful.
Well,
I'm sorry, but
it is visually stunning.
Okay.
Not in a good way, and it's. I think it's subliminal in many ways, but I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. I just don't like that imagery in my head or anybody else's. Bottom line is, it was taken down. But the point here is that this occultism, this Satanism, this very anti-biblical, in many ways anti-human. Perspective is, and definitely anti-God, perspective is being mainstreamed. It's being normalized. This isn't about selling more VR HoloLenses, and it's not about getting this artist more shows. This is about normalizing this worldview, this occultic worldview into American society, and it's disturbing. They say they took the video down. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, it's going to be found, it's going to be seen, and now it's going to actually get more attention than it would before. And for them to release it on Good Friday, we mentioned it, but
it needs
people need to know.
You need to know what's actually going on. You wouldn't believe that this stuff is happening. I mean, you just wouldn't believe how normal it is.
Our listeners
it's
would
not
believe.
that it's not that you wouldn't believe that this stuff is happening somewhere at some point. But what's hard to believe is that this is a normal thing that's actually happening, and everyone knows about it. Anybody who's anybody knows who she is, and use her or have asked her for help for whatever personal reason, or have attended her parties, or all of the above. And I think that there's no doubt that Bill Gates knows of her for, I mean, like I said, she knows all the elites. And this is not a conspiracy. I'm not one of those people who jump on that wagon. I'm just not. But she literally has worked with almost all of the elites that we all know.
And that's
heard
the
of
Hollywood,
just
politics
and everywhere. So anyway, I think that is something we should leave off with, just to tell everybody.
And on a happy note.
Keep your eye out. Keep your eye out for that stuff. Don't, if you ever see that name or anything like that, this is happening. And we have to be careful because so much is happening right now. It's a very pivotal moment. And we all have to pay attention. I know that the coronavirus and everything that's happening is really distracting, but pay attention, keep your eyes open, and, you know, let's make sure.
Let's keep looking up.
That we're still on guard, and that, yeah, keep looking up. Yes, keep looking up, and keep up your guard. Understand what's happening. Believe that it's happening and that it can happen. And so, hopefully, with that, well, hopefully we'll see you on Saturday. Yeah. You'll join us there.
Yeah, this has been another episode of the Rucker Squared Report. Rucker times 2. Double Ruck.
I get what that means. I know what it means.
Y'all take care and God bless.
God bless.